and gentlemen, and welcome to the season finale of Future Focus Fridays. A special welcome to our guest speakers, registered guests, civil society organizations, permanent missions, and United Nations entities. I am Ambassador Rachel Guyamera, a delegate to the United States of America on the Future Focus Global Ambassadors Cohort. I am a sophomore at Charter School of Educational Excellence, the CEO of Cheats by PYT, and a passionate advocate for youth development and empowerment. It is an honor to be your host on this season of Future Focus Fridays. And now, I turn the time over to my co-host for this season, Mr. Dale Hernandez. Dale?
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Good evening to our viewing audience. I am Dale Hernandez, the Interim Chief Executive Officer at Future Focus Empowerment Institute International. Future Focus Empowerment Institute International is a global social enterprise serving approximately 500 young men and women in over 55 countries across sub-Saharan Africa, Asia, North America, Latin America, and the Caribbean. To learn more about Future Focus Empowerment Institute International, you could visit us at futurefocusemi.org. Ambassador.
Thank you. Now, this talk show is the brainchild of a very special group attached to the organization, known as Future Focus Global Ambassadors Cohort. A group of 500 young global impact ambassadors attached to this program serve as country delegates for the Future Focus Empowerment Institute International's most highly visible programs. As a delegate, each ambassador becomes the public face of the organization and is responsible for the initiation, planning, and execution of youth conferences, summits, and programs. Through this Global Ambassadors Programs, members not only gain public exposure and access to United Nations and events, but are also afforded the ability to cultivate effective relationships with other country delegates and the organization's global network of social capital. Yeah.
At this time, we extend our gratitude to those who have made this day possible through their commitment and support for the vision of the organization and their interest in global youth impact development. So we'll take a short break and we'll be right back.
At this time, we wish to inform our viewing audience that you can post all questions in the Zoom chat box and in the comment section for those of you who are tuning in on our Facebook Live or YouTube channel.
So today we engage once again in one of our most requested topics, youth health and wellness. We have on our panel this evening a lineup of extraordinary individuals who are just excited as us to engage in such conversations. It is our pleasure to welcome Ambassador Queen Pear. She's a Global Youth Impact Ambassador and a graduate of social work. Ambassador Queen Pear is a delegate to Trinidad and Tobago and the Future Focus Global Ambassadors Cohort. She's a social work graduate and an advocate for youth mental health awareness and development. Ambassador Queen is an entrepreneur, social media influencer, and empowerment speaker. Ambassador Queen, it's a pleasure to have you on Future Focus Fridays. The floor is yours.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Next, we have Ms. Leanne Campo. Ms. Leanne Campo is a very proud mother of a 5-year-old. She holds an associate's degree in social work and will soon be graduating with her bachelor's from the College of Technology and Applied Arts of Trinidad and Tobago. She has a passion for social work, and this has led her to be an advocate for everyone and not just one particular group. However, she aspires to create and build a foundation for substance abusers. She's currently employed within the health sector of Trinidad and Tobago. This opportunity has caused her to live a fraction of her dream job as she's given the chance to meet, to communicate, and assist individuals from different walks of life. She's a great listener, very innovative, and passionate about making and being the difference or change she wishes to see. She firmly believes in education and not limiting herself. Thus, she's always open to or looking for the next new thing. This has also led her to be a holder of a number of certificates in various areas. She assists in small groups within her community, and she is a volunteer in the Junior Achievers Program. In her spare time, she enjoys long drives as this causes her to learn new places. She loves spending time and cooking with her family and, of course, watching television. Ms. Campo, welcome to Future Focus Fridays. The floor is yours.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You're welcome. Next, we have Afia Makiba Wilson, originally from Trinidad and Tobago and now resides in New Jersey, USA. She's a tenacious, multi-talented artist, actress, and multi-published model who is business savvy, resourceful, and dedicated to using her many talents to empower the youth, especially as a mentor to young women, and is a mom of one. She's running her own company that assists artists with their marketing and administration. Her passion lies in her exuberant creativity and her love for the arts and music, with the end goal being a school of the arts and serves the underprivileged but talented youth of her community. Afia, it's a pleasure to have you here tonight. The floor is yours.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, Dale. Thank you so much, Ambassador Rachel. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm excited to be among you guys and have this conversation. So let's get on with the show.
All right. Thanks for being here. And last but not least, we have Mr. Daniel Francis. Daniel Francis is a millennial helping other millennials. He's an author, a coach, and an entrepreneur. Over the past 3 years, he has served as a personal development coach whose work targets millennials and helps them tap into their full potential. Under his direction, hundreds of millennials have learned practical skills like time management, goal setting, and staying consistent. Extensive work with young people inspired him to write a book entitled The Millennial Mind: Success Secrets for Unlocking Your Full Potential, which helps guide millennials into becoming the best versions of themselves. His book triggers deep introspection for its readers. The book focuses on millennial challenges and shows how to overcome these challenges in a relatable and practical way. With his second book entitled The Millennial Experience, 30 Stories of Hope, Growth, and Success, he plans to motivate and empower even more millennials to reach for greatness. Outside of his entrepreneurial activities, Daniel is a member of his local Rotaract Club, the Rotaract Club of Port of Spain West, and continues to give back to his community. Mr. Francis, we thank you for joining us here tonight. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Great pleasure to be here. I hope that I can add some insights to help those who are listening. And yeah, just again, pleasure to be here.
You're welcome. Ambassador Rachel.
Thank you. Now, before we begin our dialogue, we will take a short commercial break from one of our sponsors.
So welcome back. In school, we are taught at a young age about a balanced diet and the importance of consuming the right amount of nutrients from each level of the food pyramid. As we grow older, there's a shift and our balance changes from food to life in general. Do we live a balanced life? What constitutes a healthy balance and how can this be achieved? There are many medical benefits to youth conferred by physical activity, balanced nutrition, and quality sleep, as these have been encouraged by medical and mental health providers. The struggle for youths is now how to obtain optimum health and wellness in a society where the dynamic has shifted and many youths are focused on surviving the day rather than living their lives. The balance of school, work, passing courses, and maintaining a social life while being spiritually sound and motivated has created an additional pressure on youths and caused a decline in their overall health and wellness. Today, our focus is the importance of health and wellness in youths. As we start this discussion, please note that all topics discussed today are personal and any advice or tips should be implemented with a consultant of a registered health professional. So with the first question, what are some of the major health challenges face youths today? And I'll first pose this question to Mr. Francis.
Thank you so much. Now, for me, I mean, with my work, I pay a lot of attention to what the youth are doing because I think it affects us as we kind of blossom into adulthood. And especially with persons that I'm seeing now is that we have not really set a solid foundation when it comes to health and even fitness, right? I mean, I come from a background where it's a boys' school, every day is running, is playing, and we are very competitive. So everything was just sports. And I've seen that it has really set a solid base for me in adulthood, right? Especially when it comes to health checkups and all these side effects that can kind of happen when you don't have a solid base. And when I see kids, and I'm seeing especially with more fast foods coming down to local places, and you're seeing the rise in obesity, and you're seeing that the kids are less active due to social media. We're always on our phones. I mean, we live on these things, but even so, the kids now, I mean, they basically are born with a tablet in their hand, right? And we're seeing that the decrease in activity, the increase of playing outside, being physical, is going to have tremendous effects, right? And of course, you know, even with the focus on health, there will be a mental side of it as well, because again, when you live on your phone, you can't help but compare yourself to other persons. So if you're obese, if you find that you're not where you want to be physically, or even you're going through some stresses that you don't see other people going through, you feel like you might be alone. So now it's health, but then it's also mental.
I agree. Thank you so much, Mr. Francis. What about you, Afia? Because you're a mother of one. What are some of the health challenges you've seen facing youths today?
You know, apart from the obvious and currently popular topic of mental health, just to piggyback off of what Daniel said, basic health needs to be consistently addressed. You know, diet, exercise, regular doctor visits, education about nutrition, peer support. You know, are their friends going to see the doctors? You know, are they talking about stuff like things like that? You know, remembering to keep these doctor visits. You know, sometimes, you know, we have parents that have teenagers like myself. When I had my daughter was a teenager, you know, when they get to a certain age, you entrust with them a certain amount of responsibility of, you know, making their own doctor's appointments, you know, to prepare them for, you know, their adulthood and stuff like that. But remembering at the same time that they are still children. So you still have to guide them and remind them and maybe make the appointments for them. And, you know, setting those precedents early will definitely have an impact on their adulthood. And, you know, also they need to listen to their body more, be more in tune with their self and focus on good health habits, you know. Also remembering that what works for one person is not going to work for another person, which is why I say you have to be in tune with yourself. You have to know what your body needs. This is why nutritional information is important, nutritional education. Some people are allergic to certain things. Sometimes we grew up our whole life living in the Caribbean, eating, you know, this big Sunday lunch rice and macaroni pie and potato salad. And, you know, when you look at it, there's 3 starches on your plate, you know what I'm saying? It is not completely healthy for everybody to eat in the same way. So being more in tune with themselves, it would definitely have to start within the youth years. And, you know, it is, like we said, it's a village. So it's going to take everyone to be involved in continuing the active health and wellness of each youth individual within their community and micro communities. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Ms. Wilson. And I'll ask this question to Ms. Campo also, because you have a 5-year-old. What are some of the health challenges you've seen in youths in your field of work also?
Okay, so in answering this question, I will intertwine it with both mental health and physical health. One of the challenges is at a young age, you're seeing obesity prevalent among children, right? This now is prevalent among young children, and thus it is more economic as well, because it is easier to grab something and go than to stay home and cook, right? I mean, it's like being a parent of a 5-year-old. Sometimes it is easier to kind of make up eat fruits and vegetables as a snack, meaning like, for example, like put it like if it's cut it in a certain form or something like that, instead of just putting it and saying, give mommy, this is carrots, this is broccoli, this is whatever. So along that line, it is basically obesity, one, and then two, as Mr. Francis rightfully said, it goes into the mental health, meaning that it can lead into people going into depression because they're comparing, okay, I'm a 5-year-old and I can't run as fast as my friend because I eat this and I can't eat that. So yes, it is intertwining with physical health as well as mental health.
Thank you so much, Ms. Campo. And to Ambassador Queen Pear, why is health and well-being so important for young people? Because again, health is the absence of illness, obviously. And wellness is much more than that. Wellness is about promoting behaviors to achieve your full potential. But why is it so important, you think, Ambassador Pear?
Thank you, Devon. To start off, just like what everyone said in the first question, there's a lot of challenges that you are facing health-wise, right? And so with all these challenges that was listed out, being whether it be mental health, dealing with weight issues, eating issues, and stuff like that, it is so important. But I just want to say that if you are not, I would say, healthy or well in any way, it do affect because it goes into adulthood. And so if you're not well as a youth and you're not taking care of yourself as a youth, it will affect you eventually as you go into adulthood. And so there's a lot of things that we need to address, just like what everyone said just now, but also keeping in mind that when these are neglected, there's serious issues that arise, such as for youths, right? There's a lot of suicide thoughts. There's a lot of attempts and successes when doing it as well. So that's something that youths facing because they're struggling with different mental disorder and stuff. And some of them really don't even know that that is what's happening with their bodies because there's not enough information there for them to access, or they don't have anyone to talk to about these different things that they are feeling within themselves. And so it leads to whether they act out when it comes to behavior and stuff. And obviously when it goes to substance abuse as well, they result in hanging out on the block with their friend, because they decide this is a stressful period and the only thing to ease the stress is smoking a cigarette or doing some form of drugs. And I've heard it like first-hand experience where I ask them, why are you doing this? And that is exactly what they say. So it is very important for them to take care of their well-being because it do affect them in the long run.
Thank you so much, Ambassador Pear. And I'll ask this before I turn over the time to Rachel, to Mr. Francis also. It is a conscious choice, self-directed and self-motivating. You've written 2 books thus far, The Millennial Mind and The Millennial Experience, which we'll get to later, but how can you do this with youths, the youths of today?
When you say do this, what do you mean exactly? Just to
like show them how, because it's self-directed, as I said, it's just to get a millennial, for example, where we talk about health or well-being and how important it is, or just to give them the encouragement to be healthy. How could you do that for youth today? Because I mean, you've written the books
right.
to push the millennials forward and into getting where they need to be. But what about the youths today who are not millennials or the ones who are coming after? How can you put this forward to them?
Yeah, and I mean, the name of my books, it does have the word millennial in it, but it's a niche thing. You have to focus on a particular
everybody.
niche. But it's for
Yes.
everyone. But
Yes.
it also it's about coming of age, right? And a lot of people who read the book now, they think, wow, if I had read this when I was younger, I would be way more prepared. And that's exactly what I wanted. But for me, and this is why I try to push it so hard with schools, but the school system is more set up in a way to get your A's in your subject, prepare to get a degree,
Yes.
get your job, pay your bills. So when you talk about, okay, how can we partner now to teach kids about habits and why doing something daily has a big impact in your life, about time management, about goal setting, right? Because I mean, of course it will help them overall, but again, I can't blame schools, because you're there, you're an institution to help kids get the good grades so that they can get the job, so they can get the money, all these different things. But what I really try to do is to show that, and I mean, I've had some schools who are partnering with me, and locally NALIS, they do things with schools, and I'm really trying to push it there, just to show kids that it's so important, these different aspects, especially in the context of what we're speaking about here. It's big on the habits, because once they build these habits early, they carry them for the rest of their lives. I mean, if you have a child, and you are building that habit of daily exercise, or they are identifying as a healthy person, a fit person from early, you have so much less work to do when they become an adult, where they don't identify as that. They don't think they're that person. They have all these limiting beliefs where they tell themselves, well, I've always been lazy, I don't eat well. That's never going to change. But you start that stuff early, and you build it up foundationally. It's like what they say, the prevention is better than the cure.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And that's what really we should be focusing on. We already built the level of school, grades, job. Now we need to add the different aspects of, all right, this is life. And these are the things that are important for life. These are the habits. I mean, side note, this has nothing to do with this, but this is how you do taxes. Yeah, that would be great. All these different aspects that can actually help you in life. And I think that honestly, that's the next stage. And I know people like me, there are a lot of people out there who are pushing this agenda, and eventually kids will start to see it. They will start introducing it into schools, because I mean, we're seeing that the adults now are more, I don't want to use the negative connotation and say they're drones, but there's less complex thinking. There's less independence. You're seeing the rise of mental health. You're seeing the rise of obesity. You're seeing all the different aspects of things that can be fixed, can be addressed at a younger age, so that there's less work to be done as they become adults. So that's how I see, my book, the work I do, the work that other persons who are similar to me do, to kind of get into the schooling system, show them what they can do, and just start them off on the right path, so that they're ahead of the game when they actually enter into all these aspects of adulting.
Thank you, Mr. Francis. Ambassador?
Thank you. And on to our next question, which is, there's an ongoing debate that electronic devices and the relevance of these devices has over the few years affected youth and mental health. What are your thoughts on this statement? And what would you say are some of the reasons for the deterioration of youth's health and wellness? I would like to ask this question first to Ms. Campo.
Okay, so in the developing practices, right, electronic devices may be an adjustment, just as a disadvantage, and it can be helpful when dealing with mental health. Some youths, right, but however, it has been causing them to portray other mental disabilities, right? For example, some of them are lower, they have lower levels of social and emotional well-being. Some of them concentrate so much that they're drawn into these devices, and as a result, they feel like these devices is their only company, the only person that they can talk to. Or for example, they feel that, okay, I'm bored, I will look for entertainment. And looking for entertainment on these devices, it can be led into wrong directions, because at the end of the day, it's like sometimes it doesn't know what may pop up on these devices, right? Along with that, they develop like communication and spelling problems on these devices, because when you're texting short, and I speak from experience, because sometimes having to write a report or something, instead of writing out like why or you would put you and stuff like that. And then after you find yourself in groups and you may not even know how to communicate, somebody might start a sentence and you're like, wait, you're speaking to me? Because you don't really know, or you're expecting to hear the ping in the background just to know like, okay, somebody willing to speak to me, right? And also it's like they become dependent on the social image and the social view based on these devices.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Ms. Wilson, what about you?
Well, now with the rise of the internet and devices and technology, which is mostly geared towards the youth, we also have to be, empathetic towards them because their young developing minds do not understand the threat that these external elements of social media and video games and all these other forms of technology that is pushed out for profit. Remember, all these things are pushed out for profit, right? Now, parents are mostly at a loss most of the time because where tech is concerned, the youths are miles ahead. They run circles around us where technology is concerned and social media. So, and they are also aware of their advantage. They are very aware that their parents are unaware because new technology comes out every 30 minutes, period. Right? So now, the youth are hardwired to think that they are invincible. That's all of us when we were young. We all think that we are invincible and untouchable and nothing can happen to us. So they don't see the danger that they are in. And what happens is a lot of negativity lives on the internet, and negative energy is contagious. This physical device that is digital emits an energy, right? And the majority of the content that is on the internet is negative. So now when they ingest this negative energy that is contagious, it manifests itself in various different ways that affects their mental and physical health, right? And they may just think that it's entertainment, but their psyche is damaged, it's traumatized, and it adapts to this trauma in different ways that we may not even recognize, So, and also, like I said, everyone adapts to it differently. So we also have to bear those things in mind. Everybody is an individual. And now, like Daniel said, we're in the age where these kids are not drones anymore. They know that they're all individual, and they know that they are all capable of doing whatever it is that they want, that they don't have to do what is set out for them at the beginning of their life like it was for previous generations. So now, with all of that technology, and they're not listening to when we tell them, too much of a good thing is not good. So as the adults and as the mentors, we still have to try to be the dominant voice, being empathetic to what they have going on, because they are bombarded. They are bombarded in ways that we can't even imagine. We're using the internet for do it yourself, flower garden, look this up, shop on Amazon, buy things for your house. But they are into different things that we are so unawares of, until it's too late. So we as the adults in their life, we still have to remain the dominant voice and remember to bring them back to reality. The virtual reality and the real reality are two separate realities, but you are one person that exists in both worlds. You understand? So this is why we have to remain, part of their lives, get up to date with technology, listen to what they have to say, be always open and receptive to them, and still be their guide, be a guiding force, a guiding light, a safe place, because I've seen what bullying and stuff does on the internet. to children. I've heard too many stories of suicide and, you know, really negative things happening. So this is why we as adults in the community and as parents and as aunts and as cousins and, you know, we still need to bring them back to reality. All right, that's what I have to say about that.
Thank you, Thea. One of our attendees says, so true. Many of us allow our electronic devices to become our best friends, or a matter of fact, an essential body part that we cannot do without. So yes, it's important to have a good guide to help us, to show us, hey, this is not our reality. We have to take a break and accept the real world as it is. So thank you for sharing. To our social workers on the panel, this question is for you. Many studies have shown that extensive use of social media can affect our mental and psychological health. Do you believe that social media has an impact on youth's health? Ambassador Queen.
Yes. I just want to say, simple example. Today, I was just going to the bathroom, and my husband's like, "Okay, babe, you don't need your phone to go to the bathroom." And it's so true. I do not need my phone to go to the bathroom. So, with that being said, guys, I do believe that social media has impacted our youth's health um, in a bunch of different ways. There is a saying back home, right? That it takes a village to raise a child. And we all know that saying. But I have noticed that social media is the village that is raising our children. Whether we like it or not, that is exactly what is happening with some of our children, and it is impacting them tremendously. And just going back to the question, also, there's so much going on in my head that I want to say, but I don't want to overdo it. To be honest, um, I just have seen from first-hand experience how bad social media has affected the communication barrier and stuff. And with all of this, it causes us to, it just leads to different various health disorders. Um, Social media is a lack of sleep. And as simple as a lack of sleep is, some people might say, oh, it's a lack of sleep. No, it can cause so many other different problems in the future. It affects your mood. Um, and that's one thing that is big, is affect your mood. So it can cause eventually um, affecting your mood. And if it continue, it can lead to different other mental health diseases, such as depression and all these different things. And so there was a study that ties social media, that there was a study done in the British that tie the, like, watching too much social media can, like I said, cause less sleep, is associated with depression, and there is something called memory loss as well. Now, I didn't know that, and I was like, okay. So it made me realize that I need to decrease the amount of time I spend on social media, especially if I'm not doing something positive on it. And so, because I have been forgetting a lot of stuff lately, and I know some people might think it could be weird, but it's true. You can develop memory loss from this. And just like everyone say, our youths don't realize the impact that social media, these electronics have on them until it might be too late. But you know what's crazy? This is the world that we're living in today, where social media is taking over. These electronics is taking over. So I think we just need to find a balance between this life. We need to show them that we can create this balance. But yeah.
Thank you, Ambassador Queen. Ms. Afia, you're the other social worker on the panel. Do you think that social media can affect your mental and psychological health?
Mental and psychological health on social media goes hand in hand. Comparison is a thief of joy, and young minds don't understand what we now know as adults, that comparing yourself to other people is detrimental to your mental health. So what you find is a lot of our teenage young girls are watching and ingesting the content that is out there, and they are comparing themselves and feeling inadequate, feeling insecure, wanting to modify their bodies, and not actually giving themselves time to develop of who they actually really are. It affects so many kids in a negative way. That, I mean, it's positive in the way that, you know, a lot of youths can find their, you know, their own voice. A lot of them have created a lot, you know, their own audiences. A lot of them have become wealthy due to the rise of social media, which is great. But on the flip side, one false move, one bad comment, one, you know, negative review can send them into a tailspin, because their mind, their psyche is not developed enough to deal with these type of negative input, right? So it's a problem. It's a problem when it is definitely a problem when the youth now are losing their lives over it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I misspoke. Ms. Campo is actually the other social worker in our midst. So I would also like to pose this question to you.
So as my other social worker colleague, Queen Fair, rightfully said, let us be sleep deprived. But continuing from that, social media takes away a lot from as simple as traditional celebrations. For example, they depend on Facebook to remind them that, okay, tomorrow is my brother's birthday, or tomorrow is my auntie's birthday. So, you know, they look forward to that notification popping up on Instagram or popping up on Facebook, and then they may not even go into the sentimental message that they would just post on Facebook, happy birthday auntie, happy birthday uncle. Meanwhile, normally they would have called or reached out to that particular person and remember without it. Along with that too, it's like they start to develop envy based on pictures of a Facebook, based off of images, based off of the person's physical features. For example, they having problems accepting that, okay, I'm petite while she may have a different body structure. So I now going and try to overeat, or I now going and try to fit in some way that I should not be, because I want to get into that social image, or to get certain likes, or to, you know, be accepted by a certain group. So yes, it is impacting on their mental. And going back to being sleep deprived, it may cause grade, grade to drop, because you won't be able to concentrate doing a favorite subject of yours, because you're deprived of sleep. You will be moody, you will be lashing out, you will not be able to concentrate. So it does impact mentally on you.
Thank you. One of our attendees says social media really has affected the communication barrier. Like you said, youth nowadays are torn between the truth and what they believe to be true when social media shows them so many wrong things. Thank you for sharing again. Over to Dale.
All right, thank you. Do you think youths are less physically active? We already kind of like got that done. But what are some of the things or the issues that could arise from youths not being physically active? Mr. Francis.
Well, I mean, the typical one would always be obesity. You're not as active. You're eating more. You're not even learning really about what you should be eating, how you should be eating, and you're building a foundation of inactivity. So that in and of itself will kind of lead to things like that: overeating, obesity. And again, we always talk about how that can escalate into something more mental. I mean, it really kind of depends on the situation. I mean, you talk about like what we're going on here, specifically in Trinidad, other places in the Caribbean and the US, but I mean, I can only speak for what I see here, right? they are less active. I mean, I wasn't pitching. I mean, I guess I was pitching marble and drains when I was growing up, so that's a lie. But I wouldn't see that from kids now. I wouldn't see them playing football in the road. I don't see that anymore. So it's not even a question of if they are or if they aren't more active. You can just tell that they aren't, right? So it's clear that when they now start to develop, and again, I'm big on the habits, and they don't have this foundational thing, even if they aren't, let's say, obese, or even if they aren't suffering from anything like that, when they now get to the stage when they say, okay, I have more control over my surrounding, I have more control over what I can do, where I spend my money, well, I have money now, um, they will find it very difficult to now have to build this new foundation for whatever it is that they want, whether they want to eat more healthy or they want to be more fit or any aspect of that area. It will be completely new to them because they just weren't active, right? I can speak to the when you are active throughout your early life, how much it impacts your later life. It is astronomical. If you put a number value to that, it's crazy because you're not paying for a lot of what people are paying for now. You're not paying for these heart problems. You're not paying diabetes. You're not, but we may not see that in the short term because I mean, oh gosh, your kids, your parents are doing what the best they can to provide. I mean, you can't tear away the kids' laptop, iPad, phone if it is they've already developed that habit of using it. You can really do the best you can in that moment. For me, I mean, I always look at the tech giants, these people who create these social media platforms and these devices. Notice they have with their kids, it's no joke. There's a limit to how long they can stay on these devices. It's not a joke. And they stick to it because they know they've created these devices to distract, right? You ever wonder why Facebook, Twitter, all these places have a news feed that endlessly scrolls because they know that that endless scroll function will keep persons on it. And as different panelists, I think Afia said it, when you're at that age and your psyche is so young and you're just growing these cues because they are cues. The cue of I heard a notification, check my phone. I'm on Facebook to message one person, but yes, I'm scrolling forever, right? You don't realize how much you haven't moved. You really don't. You don't even realize how much you haven't moved. But you also haven't realized that multiple days, weeks, months, years have now passed by where you have been doing this for so long. It is just you now. That's just part of your being. So now again, just to give context for why when you now want to change, it's less of a behavior change and it's more of an actual identity change, which will be a lot more work. I mean, I know we talk about the negative side, but I mean, there are positive sides to all this, for the kids that do realize, and this is a fact, you have access to everything, absolutely everything. I remember to this day when I grew up on basketball, so I used to go abroad and play basketball. And I met those kids who took this really seriously, as in they knew they had access and they used that access very positively. They would create their own workout schedules, their own balanced diets, because it's only a Google click away, right? So there are both sides to this. And I think what's really crucial and key is what we as adults, we as parents, well, I'm not a parent, but parents do to now direct these resources, because let's be real, it's not going away. And let's be real, it's not necessarily a negative thing. It's just about how it's used. And honestly, you're the one who has to now, and I know it's a lot of work, I know it's, these kids, right? But you are the one who has to now direct them and say, this is the amount of time you get to spend on this. If you want this, then why don't you use this resource, this unlimited resource you have, to now build something, a schedule, a plan, or whatever, to make it a reality. Let me help you through it. And now you have a gateway into how you can kind of join in on them, because sometimes when on the devices, they don't want to talk to nobody. But when you're building something and they need your help, you get that in there and you can help guide them, because at that age, they don't have the structure. You have to have created, right? And if you're talking about social media, something that's not going away, all this access is not going away, and you want them to not be stationary all day, these are the things you have to do. You have to find a way to make it fun, because You can't expect a child to know, to have that self-awareness to say, well, I've been sitting for 5-6 hours straight. Maybe I should go for a walk, you know? We have to be the ones to now take that step and really make it a mission, make it a goal in their early ages to say, okay, this is what I know will help them. And again, we still have the same access to the resources to learn what we can do, because I bet you Google, how do I get my kid more active? And you're going to get a million options, right? And start using these things, because the same access they have is the same access we have. We just need to learn how to use it.
That's true. Thank you so much, Mr. Francis. For Ambassador Queen Pear, I know you spoke about going to the washroom with your phone. And I had I had something like that this evening. I was going to shower and I was like, you know what, I should take the phone because I like to listen to music while there. And I know how it is. Sometimes you just have this device and you're everywhere with it, but I left it in the bedroom. But tell me, in your experience, or what, if you have to teach like a Dora or any one of your nieces or anybody back home or where you are at the moment, what are some of the ways you speak to a youth on how to have that healthy habit of balancing social media and, well, the physical?
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Yeah. So just like Danielle said, right, there's a lot of things that is happening. And before I answer that question, I just want to say I strongly believe that it really fall on the parents as well. And so in the upcoming generation, when we used to get trouble, our parents send us outside to play. Go outside and play. But nowadays, as 3 years old, they're given a gift, a tablet. I don't even have a tablet, but that's okay. That's okay. But they are given this device at a young age. And when the child start acting up, instead of going outside and play, they say, here, lick your tablet. It will keep them quiet, right? And that's what we're seeing. So it creating a pattern, those habits, right? And so to break it now, it's kind of difficult. Just like Daniel was saying, it's not just to break, it's a lifestyle, that is the life. I said, is me telling you that one, I come in and take away life from you. And so just keep that in mind, is that what we're doing to the youths now. And so the best advice I can give to them, I'm hoping that the parents can see this and realize that what the damage it is doing to their children, even though it might keep them quiet a couple of minutes or hours for now, that it's frying their brain basically. But for like Dora, I always for Dora, just basically having that balance. You just know. And I want to say it's kind of difficult too, because we're in the pandemic and you're just really inside. You're inside. Everything is social media. Every single thing is your phone, your devices. You don't even want to go outside. The sun too hot. You don't want it burn your skin. Like, it's so much different things. You don't want to get darker. There's so much problems nowadays because social media is painting this image, the way you're supposed to look, how you're supposed to dress, everything. And so I will say that one, it is difficult to tell them do this, do that, because it's a lifestyle. But I will always say just to find a balance. Hey, just get up and walk and go for a glass of water. Just get up, exercise. And you don't need to do much. Just walk around the house, do something, communicate with your friends, at least your family, I would say, because those are the ones who will be in your circle. Just try to communicate with them so you will have that balance and not just send them a text saying, how are you? No, go and see how they are doing. Just really find out, because anybody can text, I'm great. And, inside they are struggling and they are battling things that we never battled when we were smaller, when we was young, I would say. And so it is very important to have that. I don't want to say physical touch because they're different, but that interaction, that social interaction, not over the phone, but in person. So just being able to balance over the phone, in-person interaction, so that you'll be able to actually see how someone is doing and be able to help them. And in return, you'll be helping yourself in the long run.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Someone said the only tablet they had as a youth was vitamins. That is very funny. I had that too. But like me, I mean, back in my time, I remember being, being called inside, because I never wanted to go inside. I mean, playing outside all day was what we did. So we were begged to come into the house when I was younger. To Ms. Campo, I saw your 5-year-old doing exercises the other day. And she's doing the worst exercise for me, crunches. I hate that. But what are you teaching her about proper physical health?
Okay, so sticking with the pandemic and sticking with the new norm, I try my best to have the balance. So for example, yes, she has a device. However, I have a disadvantage. For example, we would look up dances to do like the exercise, but within that, we would be counting, right? And it would have maybe like a chicken on the screen or some cartoon character on the screen. So therefore, yes, she's kind of balancing being on the device, but also having that physical activity within her system. And apart from that, how I balance it is like, okay, by her knowing that she has to exercise, I kind of intertwine it with having her eat healthy. So for example, she would say, okay, mommy, so after exercise, I need water or I need a banana along that line. And she would say, no, mommy, I can't eat this because I just did some sit-ups, so I just did this or whatever. So it is sort of using the device as an advantage and a disadvantage as well. Instead of just having them sit one place, they can have them look at activities that will have them active. Right? Yes, as I previously said. So look up exercises and, she would look forward to doing the exercise every evening because sometimes I might be tired and she'll be like, no, mommy, let's do something. So it has both an advantage and a disadvantage.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Campbell. And to Ms. Wilson, you have a teenager, what does health quality in a teenage or in your teenage years influence that of your later years?
Well, she's not a teenager anymore. She's 21 now.
Oh, wow, okay.
But, like Ms. Campo said, doing activities, and incorporating the use of the device in the activities, that certainly helps a lot, and doing things together. Now, as a teen, as a youth, their interests are a lot it changes from when they're children. But if you develop a good method of communication with your children, getting them to do activities that is going to be healthy for them, they don't really care. They just gonna be like, okay, I'm just gonna do this with my mom. But in smart, you're getting them to work out. So I would try to get my daughter up to walk with me in the morning, or go to the gym, work out, or just do things together, or use the device, because now is the new norm. We would put on the YouTube on the phone and look at the videos and do 30-minute workouts in the house. So you use it to an advantage. There has to be a balance.
Yes.
So that was the most important thing.
All right, then. Thanks so much, Ms. Wilson. Ambassador Rachel.
Thank you. How can parents support children who display emotional or behavioral issues? Ambassador Queen.
Hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for this question. Firstly, I truly believe that parents really need to be educated on the different issues that children might be facing overall in today's society. Because most parents are unaware of these issues that result. Most parents are unaware of these issues that their kids are going through, and so on, that are facing. And so, as a result of this, right, most parents back in the days and even now, when a child misbehave or acting out, or even display any of these different issues that they're going through, whether it be mentally, physically, whatever the case, it's considered acting out. And back home, when you act out, you know what you get, right? We all know, we all been there, we all probably, well, at least I can speak for myself. When I act out, we get licks. there was consequences when we act out. And so I think honestly parents needs to be able to, how to put it, like parents need to remodel their own behavior as well. And so when parents remodel their own behavior, the reason why I say this is because many parents react, display certain behavior, right? um we have a saying, parents always say that, do as I say, not as I do.
Hmm.
Please stop it. No, don't do it. Stop it. That is not how these children mind work. Maybe for us, but not
Yeah.
for them. They're
Mhm.
gonna do exactly what they see. And if you are not giving them that, um, providing that role model, I would say being a role model, they wouldn't do it. So they're gonna do what they seeing you do. And so if you acting out, they're gonna be doing the same thing. And
Mhm.
so I just truly believe that parents need to be educated on these things that will be able, so as soon as they educate themselves, they will be able to realize that their child is acting out in a certain way. They'll be able to realize the signs of different things and be able to help them in a more calming, soothing way instead of a harsh way where they talk to them harsh and they assume that is the way to go. Because we all know that that leads to nothing good.
Yes. Thank you, Ambassador Queen. Ms. Campbell, what about you on this question?
You could just reiterate the question, please. Thanks.
Okay. How can parents support children who display emotional or behavioral issues?
Okay, so being a parent, this is my personal belief. I think that dealing with my daughter, I will allow her to know that I am her main support. I am open to her as a person, not as a parent, because being supportive to your child or children, making them be open, making them be able to know that, okay, I have a friend that I can go to. This will reduce them to turn into negative stuff, negative friends, being easily influenced, right? So as simple as, okay, you know what, you don't want to speak to me, okay, let's go to our group. By supporting them, you need to let them know that, okay, going to a social worker, a psychiatrist, or something like that. It is not that you're mad, but it's just that, you know, it is not you alone going through this phase. And here I am supporting you and going through the phase with you, because back then, in my era, dealing with certain mental issues was not how youth will deal with it today. So as a result, I have to let her know that, okay, I know how I dealt with it, and I am going along with you to believe and learn how you will be able to cope with it. Because I am not going to tell you, okay, I went outside and I ran about when I used to feel sad, so you should go outside and run about when you feel sad. No, that was my way. You are an individual of yourself, and it is just for them to know that, okay, mommy is there, daddy is there, auntie is there, whoever is there, despite just not being like, okay, secluded in that area and going through everything for themselves.
Thank you. Ms. Wilson, as a parent yourself, how would you advise another parent whose child displays emotional or behavioral issues?
So I had a little bit of time to think about this question and I came up with this acronym. I think we parents, we need to get real. Our resources, to reiterate what the other two social workers said. If our child needs counseling, doctors, that would also lead to education. Educate yourself about what's going on with your child. Educate yourself about, how you can support them, the way that they need to have the support, and also empathy, be understanding, because I've heard things like, when I was this, that never happened to me, or when I was that age, that never happened to me. But you know, there needs to be an understanding of everybody's an individual and everybody will go through things different ways, deal with things different ways, be affected by things in different ways. The same thing. Um, a advocacy. As a parent, you have to advocate for your child. something is wrong with your child, you take your child to an institution, and let's say they diagnose them with a mental issue or physical issue, you don't just throw your hands up and leave it in their hands to decide what it is right for your child, right? You have to advocate for your child because the medical institution is also something that is out for profit.
Yeah.
So advocacy for your child. And L, love. You have to love your child through whatever it is that they're going through. Be their safe space. You know, be the place, be the one that they know that they can rely on. Okay, so real.
Thank you for that acronym. We will definitely use that in like other mental health discussions. So thank you for sharing with us. My last question to Mr. Francis also: how would you advise a parent whose child displays emotional or behavioral issues?
So because I'm in this field of personal development, I have this belief that you have to invest in yourself to be able to create more value. And I've read multiple books that talk about that same aspect, especially when it comes to kids. Uh, there's this very interesting thing that I believe everybody should really do. Um, I've done it recently, where you have this conversation with your parents about how they were raised, right? So I start with my cousins, I talk to them, and you really start to pick up and see how they were raised a particular way, and then it just passed down the line. So, for instance, with my cousin, his grandfather was just rough. When I say rough with his father, like, I mean, they would probably call that abuse in this current day, but that's what it was back then. That was normal. That was normal. Every parent was doing that, right? So now his father experienced that, and then he now has to figure out how am I going to discipline my children when they act out based on how I was raised. So they just do what they know, right? And it's the same thing. But the times are different now. Because in your generation, you didn't have social media. You couldn't compare, you couldn't post stuff. There were different rules. Kids nowadays are dealing with different types of mental health, right? And there are different rules that come with that. So why are we still using what was used in the past to treat what's happening right now? Because times are changing, right? So when you have this conversation, you then see, okay, now I understand why you were the way you were when it came to raising me. And now I understand how when you were that way, why it affected me in a particular way. So now you're having this understanding mentally of, okay, I'm seeing the connection. And now you start to see how does that carry over to how you raise your child? How much of that are you passing along? Or, for example, how much are you overcompensating or undercompensating based on how you were raised, right? And the thing with the education going into that E that I feel like real. I really like that, by the way. That's really dope. Real. I love that. That education aspect is so important because it just seems like a very human nature thing to just want to figure it out yourself. Right. And I think a lot of people do not realize that when you try to figure it out yourself, you are figuring it out from a vacuum. And that vacuum is just everything that you understand within this topic. Now, you might know a lot, but most don't. So you are going to make decisions based on the lack of information that you have. So again, you're talking about you are making decisions within a vacuum, but you have access to all this information. You have access to therapists and professionals. If you do not, based on money, there are too many free resources, right? There are too many friends that you have who are parents who are doing different things that can give you advice, right? So now you see it now comes back to, is it a you problem? Is it a pride problem? Is it a you don't understand how your past affected you right now problem? Because again, no parent is perfect. We all have, some negative effect on kids, and we want to hope that it's more positive than negative. But at the end of the day, there are so much more things that we can be doing to help. So when you now have to make this decision of my child is not acted out, what are the next steps? If you're making decisions from a vacuum, you may not be making the best decision for your child in that particular instance, right? do the research, whether you talk to the person, you sign up for the counseling, you talk to a parent who's doing a good job. There's too many options for you to not do something that can help. Right? Again, I'm not a parent. I'm not going to pretend to be a parent, and I'm not going to pretend to understand the hardships, because as a parent, I'm sure there are too many things going on for you to have sometimes to be, these things will fall through the cracks, right? But any day, parent is not, I mean, it's not even a job. I think it's a calling. You are just in it, and once you're in it, you just have to perform. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You just have to perform, because at the end of the day, if you don't, it's your child's future that's on the line, right?
Thank you. I believe education plays a major role in changing generational parenting styles. So thank you, Mr. Francis, for sharing with us. And back to Dale.
Thank you, Ambassador, and thanks everybody for sharing. So I get the opportunity to ask the last question to everybody. So prepare for that. So Miss Wilson, why am I marrying you already? Miss Wilson, you have some books at the moment, Daniel's laughing here, on Amazon, the Pineapple Journal and a couple others. Tell me why the book and what inspired you.
I designed and I decided that I would inspire people who are at a point in their life where they are transitioning into who they want to be. So I call this phase the pineapple phase, where you went through all that you went through, and now you can stand tall, you can be sweet, and wear your crown and go through life. So the idea came to me when I was recovering from my injury. I had an accident in February of this year, and I damaged my foot really, really badly, and I had to have surgery. I spent some time in the hospital, and it was a very character building time in my life. So I began to brainstorm, what I can do to keep my spirits up, mostly because being an incapacitated like that had me, completely laid out, and I was just not used to not being able to do anything. So I decided I'm going to look into publishing books. So I started writing my own book. So I have my book called Pineapple Thoughts, which is coming out within the next month or so. Stay tuned. I'm actually still working on the website, the e-commerce site and everything, getting all of that together. But currently you can purchase the notebooks that is going to accompany the actual journal, which will be a self-healing journal. But the notebooks are lined notebooks. There's 7 different designs. So this one is called the Book of Brilliant Ideas. I've been writing down every question that I've been answering on the panel in this book, as well as a couple of other things. Anything that comes to my mind, I write it down in this book. This is my Book of Brilliant Ideas. I also have the Pineapple Journal. Okay, now he's bringing it up on screen. There is bullet journaling, which you can just jot down your notes. I found that writing things down helps you remember. So it is a way to take yourself out of the virtual world, because I know we all have that notes feature on your phone, but sometimes you put something in there and you just as fast as you put it in there, you forget it. But scientists have proven that when you write things down, you remember it. It creates a etching in your mind. So the main colors that I use were yellow, because yellow is the triggering color. It helps you remember things. That's why they make Post-it notes yellow. That's why taxi cabs are yellow, so you can see them, right? And the back design, which is basically on all of the books, is the lemon. Why? Because when life gives you lemons, what do? We make lemonade. This is to remind you that life will always give you lemons, but your brilliant ideas can bring you something great, can do something wonderful for your life, or maybe touch someone else's life. So all of the books are available on Amazon.com. You can search my name, Afia Wilson. I am also featured in one of their in the authors section as well. And details on the actual self-healing journal, Pineapple Thoughts, will be forthcoming as soon as everything is correct and ready.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wilson, and we look
Thank you
forward
so
to
much.
that.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. To Ms. Ambassador Queen Pear, quickly, why social work and what's next that you've graduated?
Okay, thanks for this question. Oh my goodness. I probably, just like a lot of people, had a very difficult life growing up. I just experienced a lot of things in life, and going on my mission helped me to realize I saw a lot of things that was unjust, and I wanted to make it right. I wanted to be that voice for those who don't have one. You know, I wanted to be that beacon of hope for others, to be honest. I want to be there to help them, because a lot of youths today are going through so much and they don't know how to deal with it. And it's like it's stunting their growth. They are not functioning properly, and so they need the help in order to function to the best of their ability. And I want to be that gateway for them, to help them, and to help them to see them blossom into basically what God wants them to be. To be honest, what's next for me? I don't know, life. We will see as time go on. You know, I just continue to keep working towards my goal and towards what make me happy, and that is helping others.
I love that. Thanks so much, Ambassador Pear. Thank you so much. Mr. Daniel Francis, last night on your webinar, you spoke about the wheel of life, and you spoke about the routine as well. How important is creating a routine? And then from that, what inspired you to write the books that you did?
I think routine is everything. I think process is everything. I think what we do is we focus too much on the outcome. If you remember from the webinar, the outcome, which is the goals, but we don't focus too much on the process of how we get to the goals. And I think that's just life. We're so used to seeing on social media the success, but we don't think about how did they get to that success. So the things we do every day is so important. Within that particular webinar, I talked about when you add a positive habit to your life, it's like increasing your value every single day. Even if it's a small value, like 0.01, you're increasing. Imagine you're adding 0.01 to your life every day, right? Exponentially, you will grow as an individual, right? Because the person you are today is not the person that you're going to be when you're successful. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. The person you are in this moment right now is not the person you will be when you are successful, because you would have gone through pain, sacrifice, failure, success, procrastination, hard work, all of it. And that would have developed you to now be able to handle things better, but then also to attract the success you want. So you can't want to attract the success you want, but your day-to-day activities don't match that, right? Are you doing the most important activity every day, right? Are you preparing mentally, physically, spiritually for the day, each day as it comes? Are you trying to be 1% better every day? If you take nothing from this particular part, I challenge each person here to just try to be 1% better. That's so small, that's so tiny. 1% better every day for the rest of your life. And you will look back a year, 2 years, 3 years later and think, wow, I have come a long way. Right? What inspired me to write my book? At that point, I had trained like for 2, 3 years, training persons. I had a challenge that particular year. I want to read one book a week. That was a hell of a challenge. Luckily, most of those were self-help books. And I just remember it was Republic Day in Trinidad. I'm also an event planner, so we were supposed to have an event that day. It actually got canceled. And I was just sitting in the silence of the day, and I thought to myself, when I have a client or I'm in a webinar, I know that I'm helping persons become their best self. I know that I'm helping them become better. And I just thought, how could I help more people without physically being there? And I just got the idea. It's like, hey, write a book. And in true millennial, true young people type of intuition, I went straight to social media and I said, hey, guys, I have an idea for a book. I still have this story saved. I said, I want the book to be called The Millennial Mind or Adulting 101. And I think The Millennial Mind got like 97% on that poll. And that started everything. I had no idea what I was doing. I never wrote a book. I never, knew anything about that. I mean, I almost failed English, I remember a teacher told me, you are very uncreative with your creative writing, and I'm not even kidding. And that was actually one of my limiting beliefs to the majority of my life. I remember going through college thinking, well, I'm not very creative. I can't create anything new. So I when those questions came, I just stayed quiet, and I never realized where it came from. But when I decided to write that book, I thought back and I'm like, where did that come from? And it was that teacher saying, hey, this was one of the worst essays I've ever read. This is very uncreative. You need to do better. Right. And that stuck with me. And I said, you know what? I'm going to prove her wrong, even though it's not her, it's a me problem. And I did the planning. I spoke to the experts. I spent a certain money because I believe in myself and I wanted to fully commit. And I kept my goal in mind. I want this book to be relatable. I want this book to be insightful. I want it to be practical. I want when somebody reads it, they think, why is this man attacking me? Why is he pulling me by the scruff of my neck with these words of things that I'm going through right now? And I want that shock and awe to then be transferred into the forcing them to take little steps that will help them move forward in their life. And yeah, I mean, it launched in the middle of COVID. I committed, and I'm seeing the success with over 1,500 books sold in that year and a couple of months in this pandemic, which has opened the doors to me training persons to launch their books themselves and do what I did, and of course catapulting my coaching with my personal development. So it just goes to show that when you have a goal in mind, you have a particular routine, and you build on top of that, anything is possible. Because I remember and I'll never forget this, when the book was about to launch, COVID came to Trinidad, everything was locked down, everyone was scared, and everybody told me. I remember even a person who was like a local author who was doing really well, who was mentoring me at the time, said, do not launch this book. This is uncertain times, it doesn't make sense. And I said, well, no, this is mine, this is my child, I've invested too much. There's too much things that I can overcome. I'm not going to allow this to hold me back. And I went through, and I'm really glad that I believed in myself and went through it, because it's helping persons now, and it's helping me as an individual and my business as well. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Francis. And you could put all the links in the chat so that everybody could view and see where they could get the books. And they are available on Amazon also, and physically from you here in Trinidad as well. Your mic is on.
Yeah, I don't know where the window went. It just disappeared on my laptop, but I just found the unmute button. Yes, it is available on Amazon. You can also go on my social media page, Rebit Limited, on Instagram, and place an order. I'll find wherever the Zoom thing went, and I'll send in the caption the link for my website where you can order, because on the website you can get it either locally or from Amazon.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Francis. And lastly, to Ms. Leanne Campo, because times two, and I tried very hard not to call you mom tonight. But last question, why social work? And what are you doing now to start that foundation for substance abuse?
Okay, so I'll try to be as quick as I'm really passionate about this question, right? I've always been a passionate listener, and I was always talkative. And I remember my mom always used to say, at some point in time, someone will need help. So I decided that, okay, I love social work, and everyone needs a voice to be heard, or everyone needs a listening ear. So I decided to be that voice to be heard. I would advocate for them, as well as give that listening ear. I was always passionate about helping others. And one thing that I always try to pass on to my clients or whoever I speak with is you need to believe in yourself. Use more of I will try and I can, instead of it's too hard or I just can't do it. And that is why I fall in love with it, because I had moments where I didn't believe in myself. And I just wanted that one push or that one listening ear. And I was able, and due to the fact that I'm an expressive person, I was able to get that out of me after a while. And thanks to family, friends, and everyone that supported me, because a lot of people think that why social work, you go down and listen to people's problems and stuff like that, that does not understand the depth behind it. Second part of my question has been rightfully said. I'm trying to adapt to life currently because it has a lot of new to adapt to. But I accept all that God is sending my way. He's sending a lot of blessings my way. I give him all praise and thanks. And I am just open to the other new thing currently.
Thank you so much, Ms. Campo. Back to you, Ambassador Rachel.
Thank you. In times of change and growth, I think this conversation was very informative and inspiring as many youths, like myself, are trying to find the balance in our lives and to focus our health and wellness in the midst of a pandemic. We would like to thank our panelists for their thought-provoking input and contributions on our season finale episode. It was indeed our pleasure to have you all with us tonight. Ambassador Queen, Ms. Campbell, Ms. Wilson, and Mr. Francis, we thank you for your work and for engaging in this progressive dialogue. Dale?
Thank you, Ambassador. And thank you for all our guests on tonight's show. We are indeed grateful for you guys coming on and sharing your knowledge with us. And I'm sure the ones who attended and everybody who's viewing now would appreciate what you've done tonight. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Tonight, we would also like to recognize one of our panelists, Mr. Francis, who is changing the game one book at a time. As he has just said, he has published 2 books, The Millennial Mind and The Millennial Experience. These books have impacted so many, and we are so pleased to share a snippet with you tonight. Thank you so much. You're very inspirational, Mr. Francis. Once again, we wish to acknowledge our sponsors, Vital Incorporated, Treats by PYT, Healthy Kinder International LLC, Global Food Warrior, Youth Amplified Program, Business Aesthetics, Women of Substance, Caribbean Craze, and Rapture Streetwear. We thank you for your continued support and contributions. Dale?
We also extend a warm thank you to the management and staff at Future Focus Empowerment Institute International for all their hard work and dedication towards the success of this show. To our viewing and listening audience, we say thank you on all our social media platforms for tuning in. This brings us to the end of today's show, and thank you for joining us through the entire season 2. And be sure to check our website for updated information on season 3. For questions, and for those of you who have an interest in being a sponsor and advertising on the show, you can email us at info@futurefocusemi.org or call us at 347-299-6652 for more information. Note, Future Focus Empowerment Institute International is a registered 501c3 tax-exempt NGO, and all monetary donations are tax deductible. So once again, thank you for joining us, and see you next season.